What are early signs of a toxic relationship? When every argument is your fault and you have to be the one to apologize every time. Relatable? With my last relationship, I struggle with pretty bad depression and anxiety and thinking everything was or is my fault, and he made me feel even worse with that stuff. I'm in a relationship now that's making me feel much better and I'm slowly feeling okay again. Similar thing happened to a friend of mine. Only difference is he knew it wasn't his fault yet was still constantly berated. He now has difficulty trusting anybody or engaging in any conflict because he assumes it will be a constant barrage. He disengages and just simply doesn't want to get involved in any relationships anymore. When you don't feel like you can actually speak about your problems since they will take it personally or won't bother listening. My family uses what I tell them against me later. My twin sister uses the deepest insecurities I have against me when I don't do whatever she says. Tell her I disapprove. When they do something that makes you uncomfortable, and they get mad at you for expressing your discomfort. You shouldn't feel so bad about it. Like, wow, I'm sorry, I'm not just the amount of hurt you think I should be in response to the hurtful thing you did. This really reminds me of my ex telling me, oh my god, you're so sore. I never thought I was dating such a ticklish guy whenever she said something that made me feel bad. Ugh. I should have run sooner. All taking and no giving. Subtly insulting you for their own pleasure. Money problems and or addiction. The subtle insults. Gentle teasing now and then is fine when it's mutual. But when the jokes are always at one party's expense, especially in front of other people, designed to belittle them, that's a red flag. And when the jokes are about something they know you're struggling with and actively trying to change. When they constantly call all their exes crazy. Addendum to this. If they talk about their exes too much, period. Especially if it's in a negative way, whether that's calling them crazy or just regular assholes. I don't have an absolute policy on this. Sometimes an especially crazy ex can be a good story worth a laugh. And I haven't got a problem with occasionally sharing war stories. But there's a huge difference between talking occasionally about the crazy, evil ex, and talking about all your exes like they're bad. Ideally, not all of your exes are necessarily bad people. It's possible to have a relationship with someone, fail, and not want to be with them again, and still believe that they're a decent person. If someone is older than maybe 25 or so and all of their exes were crazy, that would seem to imply one of two things. 1. All of their exes really were crazy. Ergo they consistently have very poor judgment, low standards, or what have you. 2. Not all of their exes were crazy. But they tend to take a super negative view of people they've dated who might have been okay. Neither of those are good things. I was briefly seriously interested in a coworker who was interested in me too. But I started getting uneasy when she kept mentioning how bad all of the people she dated were. Especially since she was 36. I'd be a little more forgiving of a 22-year-old saying the same thing. Because when you're 22 you're still kind of peeping stupid and immature. But a 36-year-old should have their life together. Sure enough, after flirting hard with me for 2 weeks and telling me one night she was super into me and wanted to bang when quarantine was over, she randomly changed personality totally and stopped talking to me with no explanation. Guess I dodged a bullet there. There's sharing stories about an ex as a method of bringing up what sort of behavior in your past relationships worked or didn't work. That way your new partner will better know what works for you. Then there's vilifying exes as a method of convincing yourself that the relationship problems you faced were 100% the fault of others rather than your own. I don't even mention exes by name and am vague as possible to avoid vilifying them. It's the problem behavior I focus on and how it affected the relationship. When they seem to argue with you a lot, and make petty things into a huge dispute. It's stuff like this that makes you realize how much of a toxic relationship you're in. Also, when the only time they seem like they're not arguing is when they need/want something from you. I could have used this thread a year ago. LOL. When you realize that you are spending all your time dealing with their issues, and never yours. Damn. That hit a nerve. Same here. Felt like a personal attack from my last relationship. Trying to control you. Giving you silent treatment. Trying to alienate you from your friends. Making you choose between them and your family/career/passion. Trying to police your social media. Pressuring you into sexual activities. Ha! Everything on that list except the last part is what my mother did to me. People in controlling relationships often had a controlling parent or other adult authority figure in their earlier life. The relationship doesn't feel good. This is profoundly what I felt early on in my last relationship. I could feel it in the pit of my stomach. That something was simply off. I brought up this feeling to him numerous times throughout our 6-year relationship, and he countered it by saying things like, "Everyone feels like this in a relationship. You just have to work to get past it." I was a coward and a fool for agreeing with him each time. Not surprisingly, our relationship was garbage. It turned me into a mean, spiteful person towards him. If it feels wrong, it is wrong. Never ignore that feeling. Very well put. That intuition should be enough, but sadly we ignore it. An inability to take responsibility for their own actions. Especially if you find yourself apologizing to them for being bothered by something they did. Yep. Narcissistic abuse. When they take it personally that you dare to have boundaries. When they're emotional when you do leisurely things that don't involve them. Sir, this is a relationship. I need some space, damn it. The last girl I dated always got put off anytime I would do something without her. Keep in mind, I would hang out with her every day. I would make plans with her. We would go out every weekend. I would surprise her with fun dates a few times a month. We would spend nights together, probably 4 to 5 nights a week. I can honestly say that 90% of my free time was spent with this girl. Yet today I learned Elle got upset over that 10% that I didn't always want to give to her. Like, is it so bad that sometimes I just want time to myself? Or that I just want to spend some nights playing Xbox with my friends who I never get to see anymore? It's like she never noticed the time I gave her. Only the time I didn't. Very disheartening, TBH. I had this with my now wife when we were dating. She didn't like that I spent a lot of time playing video games and other hobbies. I told her flat out I need that kind of stuff to stay sane. Also, I heavily encouraged her having other hobbies and hanging out with her friend group. Worked great. Now only thing is she wants to be in the same space as me while we do our separate things. Good compromise. Love bombing. Love bombing is a classic emotional abuse tactic, and the abuser often goes hard into it early in the relationship to get you hooked. Let's say you've been seeing someone for 3 weeks and they surprise you with tickets to an exotic vacation or an expensive gift. They'll also usually profess their affection for you, often and kind of exaggerated. Lots of "no one else has ever made me feel like this" kind of stuff. That way you get attached quickly and form positive perceptions of this person. So that when the abuse starts, you A, don't leave because you know they're good underneath it, and B, they can weaponize it against you as a guilt trip. That's not to say every fast-paced relationship is emotionally abusive. Mind you, every relationship works at its own speed and some are faster than others. But it's a reason to be cautious. Especially if it's an early relationship for you. Abusers tend to favor inexperienced targets. Don't be afraid to say you're not ready for something. Or that it's happening too fast for you to keep up with. In healthy relationships, the other person will understand. On a related note, love bombing is also a tactic people use to get others to join cults. I'm in my early 30s, but from my experience, when you don't let your partner have their own independent life outside of the relationship, it's a red flag. Just for discussion's sake, I am friends with a couple who are absolutely attached at the hip. They work together, live together, visit friends together. Literally everything. I think it's weird. And probably not healthy, but they seem to like it. Is that still toxic? Again, this is just for the sake of discussion. I'm not really sure what I think aside from it being odd and a little annoying because I haven't seen my friend without their SO in years. Personally, I'm someone who only needs one other person to be fulfilled in life, and I found someone else who's exactly the same. We're together almost 24/7. But that doesn't mean we're interacting the whole time. We each have our own hobbies and interests that don't overlap, so there's always new things to talk about. I call it being alone together. So I don't think it's necessarily unhealthy. Though I do think most people aren't like this. I think one of the keys to it is that our hobbies completely fulfill us. It's good to hear from someone in a relationship like this for context, and I'm happy it's fulfilling. Honestly, most people who live with S/OS have dealt with this to some degree this year.